What if you could find brand new worlds right here on Earth, where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension. I found the gateway.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. As you can see, we don't have Jay with us tonight. We have James. So we swapped one Jay for another. How are you, mates?
I'm well. Thank you very much.
That's good. And we got Jeremy up in the top. We're all used to seeing him.
Yeah, what a face to look at, hey?
Well, you know, he's got hair, so I'm the odd one out tonight. It makes a difference, but so usually I've got Jay with us.
Do you feel outnumbered now?
I do. I don't know if I like it, to tell you the truth. Now, if you have a look at Jay's screen, in his background, there's a little hint about what we're talking about tonight. Jay.
Jeremy.
My screen.
There's too many Jays on this show. James, Jay, Jeremy. I don't know. We need to get some more Garys in. Just to confuse things up a bit. Anyway, if you look in Jeremy's background, you'll see the good old Stargate. So tonight we're talking about portals and pop fiction around them. Eh?
I don't know if James is excited about tonight. Just
have a little dance.
But yeah, well, what got it started for me was a show. It was actually a movie with Rutger Hauer, so that gives you an idea how long ago this was. It was back in the 90s, and it's a show called Crossworld, which it tickled my fancy a little bit. Not him specifically, but the film itself. He's some old mystic type kind of guy, and what happened in it is it's all about some artifact which could literally cut and tear holes in time and space and dimension, and there's this whole big thing about it. But what was interesting was you didn't need this specifically to go from one dimension to another. He knew certain places. If you got to a certain point and walked in a certain direction, you walked into this place which was called Crossworld, which is what the film was actually named about. And it's kind of this nexus point where it's like the world between worlds, and you walk into it, and then you can walk through different portals out into different worlds or different times or different locations on the same planet. And it was really interesting to me because I just thought, what happens if you just accidentally walk through one of these and then bang, you're somewhere else and you don't know what the hell happened or why, and how do you get back? That's assuming you're on the same planet. If you're on a different planet, you're stuffed. So that's an interesting start to it for me.
Mm-hmm. Certainly wouldn't want to open a portal to the wrong place, would you?
No. Well, you know, I mean, you'd look at some things and you think, is hell or heaven another dimension? And if you can get to them, can you get back? And if that's the case, what can come through? You know what I mean? And with what we do with paranormal research and stuff like that, what's the possibilities of demons and things like that? You know, I don't like using that word, but
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, coming through, you know. And from there, it kind of kick-started a whole pop culture thing where you, Stargate, that came out. You had things like
Masterpiece. Masterpiece.
Yeah, very much so. Sliders, and it just keeps going from there. Quantum Leap's a little bit different, but I guess it's very much in that same vein. Yeah.
See, would Doctor Who really fall under it, being that, or would it be time travel with Doctor Who?
Well,
to an extent,
the TARDIS,
to a degree. The
TARDIS is what is it?
Time and relative dimensions in space.
That's the one.
Sorry, geeking out. Hello.
No.
That's the whole point.
I had it all back to front. So I was going to say, no, it's the Raptors. No, that's not the one. But yeah, which leads me on to, I mean, other subjects which inevitably, if you watch our podcast, we always talk about, oh man, that leads into another TV show, or it leads into another topic that we can talk about. And one of the theories is that Bigfoot, Yeti, Yeren, Sasquatch, or the Yowie here in Australia are actually an interdimensional species, and that's why it's hard to find them. You know, that they can come through when they want to come through, but they can disappear just as quickly. And that leads on to, like I was saying earlier, is what happens if you go walking in the woods and then you suddenly disappear? There are so many missing persons that are reported all around the world that are never seen or heard from again. I mean, the chances are, yeah, they've met foul play or something like that, but what if they've gone through a dimensional doorway?
So that explains Harold Holt then.
Well, it explains like water being a portal, right? Because they always say Yowies, Bigfoots are always near a water area, whether it's a river running or something. So maybe the water's their portal that they can use to manipulate to get to wherever they come from.
Wow, it's funny you just say that, because now it's taken this whole thing back to when I was a kid. There used to be a cartoon which used to be on a Saturday morning where these people were out, this family was out rafting, and they went down a whirlpool, and when they came back up, they were in the land before time kind of thing with dinosaurs and everything. That's a very similar concept.
Definitely is. So, you know, who's to say that someone unfortunate didn't walk through this portal, realised what it was, came back and thought, let's make a buck.
You just don't know, you know. I mean,
and the whole Harold Holt, you know, he went swimming, disappeared. Hello, never to be seen again. And yeah, he could have been taken by a shark, but there's still no body. There's no remains. So.
Yeah, but even when a shark attacks, even a big 5 meter plus great white, there's still blood. There's remains. He just disappeared. You know, I mean, yeah, he could have wanted to disappear, because you can disappear if you want to, almost. You know, but it's getting harder in this world where everything's virtual and there's CCTV. I mean, that whole show, Hunted, which I did actually apply for, didn't get anywhere with that. But it's that same concept of, can you stay hidden? You know, it's a very hard thing to do. Not impossible, but very hard. Unless you're a master of time and dimension.
Well, that's where a portal comes in handy.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, one of the best films ever, Stargate, and then the TV series that came on from it. They popularise it and trivialise it, but
Gosh, it's got a cult following now.
yeah. And I don't know.
But look what happens when the Stargate portal activates.
Yes,
It's basically water.
That's how they make it look.
goes
Yeah.
out and looks like water. So, you know, are they confirming that, you know, water is a portable? It's, you know, can be a conduit for spirits to move from place to place as well.
Well, that's one of the things when you talk about hauntings and things like that. They do say through the water that can provide energy for these things to manifest, but it also says that they can't actually cross a body of water. I don't understand that, but especially if it can fuel it to, you know, manifest and, you know, do what it needs to do. But and the other thing about water as well, it can exist in all the different forms. You know, it can be a gas, it can be a solid, it can be a liquid. So there's a lot to water which we don't understand, or we haven't even looked into yet. And yeah, a portal.
Plus, I mean, you're talking about, you know, demonic spirits and good ones and bad ones, and good places for portals and bad places for portals. Well, you got the Ouija boards, the portals and remnants left behind from using those.
Yes, and that's one of the things I've always said is a Ouija board isn't specifically a bad thing. I mean, it was originally marketed as a toy, but
still is.
It's all behind the intent of the whole thing and how you do it. If you open up a doorway, which is another word for a portal, I guess, for spirits to come forward, you can do what you need to do, providing one, you know how to guard it and you know how to close that bloody door when you're done, because It's if you don't close that door behind, it's like walking out and leaving your front door open. You don't know, you've got no control over who's going to walk into your house. You know, it's exactly the same with portals, and that's a scary thing because a lot of it is kids and teenagers and things like that who've watched a couple of spooky shows and they go, yeah, let's have a go at that. They don't understand the ramifications of what can come through and the consequences of what they do.
Yeah. And what can be left behind, right?
Well, once something's come through, you know, it's very hard to, especially when we can't even prove that they exist, let alone work out who they are and send them back. You know what I mean? It's once they're in until they decide they want to go back.
Yep,
So
100%.
it's a scary thing. It's a very scary thing.
You know, also, I mean, talking about the paranormal side of things, you've got theories as well to do with the origins of the portals and how portals can be made. But, you know, you got your stigma theory, which states that an event of trauma or death through conflict, murder, or suicide may have emotional residual energy that helps create the portals there as well.
Yeah.
And then you have something which I hadn't heard of before until I saw it a couple of minutes ago called stone tape theory, which states that ghosts and hauntings created by traumatic events could be recorded into rocks in earth like a battery. They can be accessed and replayed under the right conditions. Obviously, there's nothing really to back that up. But
you know what you were just describing to me?
What?
Exactly what I've described to everybody else of what a residual haunting is. I've said. Remember, we talked about this not long ago. Back in the old days, they used to have lead in the paint in the walls.
Yes, that's right.
And if something traumatic happened, it could basically impregnate itself, or whatever word you want to use, into the paint. And then if the atmospheric conditions are right, it's like pressing play on that tape recorder, and that's when you see the residual. Now, what you're describing is exactly the same concept, just a different medium. Rocks instead of paint.
Stone tape theory.
Yeah.
Don't know who made it, don't know who has written this article, but
I reckon it was somebody who was watching our podcast.
it could be.
And they renamed it.
You know, when you're thinking about that, the residual energy of bad things happening in places like, what about places like slaughterhouses? You get thousands and thousands of animals going through there. You know, does that have some sort of effect to it?
Well, this is the other thing that you need to think about is how bad does something need to be before it's that bad that it can actually create a portal, or it can impregnate itself into the surroundings to become a residual haunting. There's got to be a point, you know what I mean? And we had this discussion where I think you actually brought up, can good things do that? And that's when I turned around and said about, well, every teenage boy on the planet would be in a lot of trouble if that was the case.
Oh, so I mean, there is one place we can go to find out information for ourselves, but one, we don't have the funds, and two, we'd probably have a lot more than just me and yourself going there. But, you know, if you want to prove the point for portals and to have that theory of the stone tape theory, let's go to Auschwitz. There's a lot of traumatic things that happen there. There's probably enough to have residual energy.
Apparently, if you go there, you can feel it as soon as you get close to the place. So, and these are people that don't have a psychic ounce in their bodies, and they say as soon as you get within Kiwi of that place, boom, you can feel the history and the devastation about what happened there.
So don't take Karen.
Oh God, no. No. So, and
Karen have a heart attack.
What was that?
Karen probably have a heart attack.
Oh, I don't know. She'd certainly have something. I know that. But yeah, I thought you were actually going to say Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, you've got the whole native ground with it. It's been supposedly cursed, and not even the native Indians will go back to that spot.
Yeah, there's so much you can go into about Skinwalker Ranch, and that is an upcoming show that we will be talking about, but we won't go into that. Not yet.
How many portals do you reckon be out there?
You only need one, but if you watch, I mean, I do watch the show. I'm a big fan of The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. and Brandon Fugel, Travis, and all the other guys. And the new season's out, and some of them are up on YouTube. I don't think they've made it to streaming TV here in Australia yet. But in one of the episodes, they actually were shooting rockets up, and doing different experiments. And in one specific, about 2 or 3 frames of this video, as it took off, the actual rocket, how it lights up, reflected off something in the sky.
I did see that episode.
Yeah, and it doesn't, rockets, unless there was a cloud or something like that, but at that low altitude, there was no cloud.
Well, how do you explain the reflection?
Yeah, to explain what it's reflecting off. So, are portals in the sky? I mean, UFOs. Many say they have portal drives and things like that. That's why they can appear and disappear so quick, as well as, that leads into, folding time and space, and it goes into the Einstein-Rosen theory, Einstein-Rosen bridge and stuff like that, which again, that heads back towards sliders. So everything's in this big round circle of curiosity with portals. Not many people talk about them, but they're in all sorts of things that you watch.
We'll go back to Skinwalker Ranch. I recently was just looking through Facebook, and one popped up, and it was they had a helicopter in the sky, and they were using, I don't remember what it was called, but it was picking up a black mass in the center of where they were
the triangle
circling.
Yep.
All right, and as they got closer, it caused a malfunction in the helicopter, and they literally had to land to make sure that the helicopter was still all right. And when they went back up, they got the same thing. They didn't go so close, but then they were sending rockets up into it to see if they could record other bits and pieces. So that's also very interesting. But it was just a black mass. They couldn't quite work out what it was, but that was really interesting.
That kind of goes hand in hand with one that you've spoken about before, Gary. We were saying the pilot of a light aircraft, was it Bermuda Triangle episode? I think we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Where you were saying that, the speeds and the distance that he would have travelled to get that distance where he was, was that eye of a storm a portal?
Yeah, well, the only way you can describe that would be as a portal, because it was a guy with I can't remember, Beechcraft, I don't know. It was a light single-engine propellered plane, and it was about a 2.5-3 hour flight to the island that he took off from, to Miami, which is where he was heading. Now, he hadn't been in the air for more than 15-20 minutes, and he said it was a clear day, and then suddenly all the sky just started going dark, and it was getting all stormy around him, but there was this circular bit where you could see the light through, so he was flying through that because there was no way he was getting around it or going up over it or anything like that. I mean, with a single engine plane, you've got a max altitude of about 10,000 feet because you can't pressurize it and all the other things. Now, as he was going through, he said it was like a swirling tunnel, which again is very much like a portal, very much like what's behind you, Jeremy.
Vortex, yeah.
And a vortex, yeah. And he said it was closing in and closing in. He was seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, when you're in there and you can see everything swirling around, you've got to rely on your instruments because you don't have any horizon. But when your instruments are spinning and doing stuff, you don't even have any instrumentation to go by, and you've got no visible identifiers to tell whether you're flying level, whether you're going upside down or whatever. And when he came out, he was in this thing for no more than a few minutes. And when he came out, he literally just came out the other side as it was starting to close up. He was over Miami. So he traveled 3 hours flight in under 5-10 minutes. And when he landed, I'm skipping bits. As soon as he came out, he goes, the storm sort of just dissipated right behind him, and then it was gone. It was as clear as again. And when he landed, people couldn't understand because you have to log your flight path, your flight plan and everything. So you got to put your ETA, estimated time arrival, all that stuff, and it's with FAA rules and things like that. it's got to be within a few minutes because you've got to have your fuel calculated out and all of this sort of stuff. And when he got there were no answers because he had way too much fuel because he'd only been in the air for 20 minutes. To make it that far, he, in that shorter period of time, he would have needed a jet engine. So the plane wasn't capable of those speeds. It certainly didn't. I mean, it would have just had the fuel capacity, I would think, but it certainly didn't use anywhere near the fuel it was supposed to. Now, you could argue and turn around and say he landed somewhere, refueled, and that would have answered that, and it does. But that doesn't correlate to it all happening that quick. So it's the only thing you can put it down to is a portal or a vortex, which, are they the same thing? Are they different things? Or, you know?
Well, it makes sense that the portal would dissipate as soon as you pass through it because you find the distance, would disappear straight away.
Yeah.
Almost to me, vortexes, wouldn't there be some sort of portal that would stay longer? Is it a subcategory of portals, or
they could be cousins of each other? Same family of things.
Well, you think about it, then aircraft islands, that's still close to water, so that ties in there, really. But then with portals, you've got, think of space, you've got black holes.
Yeah.
Surely that's technically a scientific portal as such. There's another into a black hole somewhere.
No. The scientific basis around the science fiction wise, yes, it's a portal. And they reckon what happens if you come through the other side of a black hole? Well, you don't go through the other side of a black hole because it is that dense that not even light can escape the gravitation. You can't actually see a black hole. What you're seeing is the light that's been pulled into it, and that's the bit that you can see, which is, I'm not sure if that's the event horizon or it's a different part of it. But when it gets all pulled in, it's just destroyed. So
where does it go? Its matter still stays no matter what.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That the center of the black hole gets denser and denser because all the matter that comes in gets crushed into it. And that's when black holes grow, which begs the question. I mean, I think that science has seen a couple of black holes out there in space, but they're so far away, it's hard to work out what's what. But if they keep growing and keep growing, what will happen? Will they eventually swallow the whole universe?
Or will the universe still work inside afterwards?
Well, actually, that very question has been used in Stargate.
Yeah, I know.
Where they've opened up a portal to a planet so close to a black hole that the gravitational pull is going through the wormhole and it's affecting things on Earth, and it holds the Stargate open.
That's another one, wormholes.
Yeah, and they talk about time distortion as well when you get close to a black hole. So
yeah, the event horizon, it's so dense that the closer in you get, the slower everything appears from the outside. Everything that you're doing still seems normal, but from the outside it's like you're standing still. That goes into an entirely different TV show, another Gene Roddenberry TV show, that one, which was Andromeda. Yep. But God, we're showing our geekiness off tonight.
I know, it's terrible.
Don't know what you're talking about.
No. But no, what made me talk about this tonight was we do public ghost hunts with WAPA, and we actually did one last weekend, and there was a lady there who mentioned that there was actually a portal at the end of this particular tunnel that we were investigating. Now, I've been in there before, and there have been devil worshippers in there, so you don't know what they've opened up. We've done this place several times ourselves, and we get different results each and every time. Now, I've never really thought about portals, but I guess you're going through a tunnel and you're coming out the other side, so technically the tunnel itself is a portal through the rock. But yeah, it made me wonder that what instances are there out there?
And does that also tie into that stone tape theory? Because you got the stone walls, you got the stone floor,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not the first time that portals have been mentioned there. I think the last 3-4 times it's been mentioned. But it's like, yeah, for some reason it's always to the one side. But as I say, we're not walking through one to start with.
Well, wouldn't it be interesting if you were to walk through that? I mean, we've walked through it so many times. I mean, we've walked through it, then back the other way, and we've walked through it and around the outside of the, the old tracks and everything. And I've never really felt anything different. And in fact, we actually talked about this the other day about if you wake up and things don't quite feel right, have you skipped into a different dimension and then into an alternate reality, and then you get zapped back when certain things happen? Because quite often I've had feelings where you wake up or you're in some sort of a daze or something's happened and you're looking around and everything's the same, but it's not quite it doesn't feel right, if you know what I mean. And I think that's a very common thing. And are you going through a portal or a vortex of some sort, or I don't know, it's an interesting concept.
Oh, that's a hard one. It is, and sometimes it seems like we're going in circles, I suppose, with certain things we bring up, but they're so intertwined with everything. You look at the last 10 episodes that we've done, and I guarantee you 8 out of the 10 episodes we've talked about ley lines. We talked about something to do with the portals, alternate realities. But it all keeps coming back to the same stuff. It's weird how it's all interconnected so easily.
It's a spider's web.
With portals, and you've got links to crystals, and you've got links to ley lines, you've got links to all sorts, water, storm, eyes of storms. It's just when you connect the dots, where do you stop?
Yeah, and and the other thing is, if you want to open a portal, well, I suppose the first thing you got to do is know where there is one.
Abracadabra.
And I don't think it comes down to magic words. Or does it come down to magic words? Is there because one of the things that they do talk about is certain tones and frequencies can activate things. So certain sounds could possibly open up a wormhole or a portal of some sort.
Well, isn't that, like, if you want to talk about like that, it's witchcraft. They're trying to open a portal to get contact with someone. If a psychic is doing a reading, are they then opening a portal to the spiritual plane to draw these people in so they can do the psychic reading, right?
Every one of them works slightly differently, but the same sort of concept. No.
Do we, with portals, is it more of a chemical sort of energy, a kinetic energy, or more of just like a spiritual type of entity to have for it to happen?
I would go as far as saying that it is some sort of an energy that we don't even understand yet. Because one of my pet gripes about science, this is, and we always go off topic a little bit, but it's not fully off topic. One of my pet peeves is that when they talk about the Goldilocks planets that are out there in the universe, and they saying how there are literally millions of them out there which are the right distance away from the sun, their sun. They have the right atmospheric conditions as far as they can tell to support life. Now, this is where the arrogance of man comes in, because they're only talking about life as we understand it. Carbon-based beings. We still don't know how many species are on Earth. That we're still finding unidentified species almost every day, be it little insects and things like that. But they can't even begin to understand that what's out there. And they're saying millions of planets out there can support life as we know it. But life as we know it can be one of those most minuscule little things, and life that we don't understand could be in absolute abundance out there. And I bet you every one of them knows more about portals than we do.
Look at Avatar. That's just an example. I know it's a movie, but it's an example. Well, I mean, they had that connection with
their world, their natural world, which, and this is one of my things when you start talking about witchcraft and things like that, a lot of them misunderstood, and they were demonized by the church back in the 15 and 1600s. And basically a witch was, back then, was a healer, a naturist. You know, they knew how to work with the elements around them to farm and grow things. And I mean, as with all things, you know, there's always one or two bad apples in there which may spoil it for the rest. But for the most part, they're basically like the hippies of the olden days. You know, they love Earth and Earth loves them, and that's how they got on with life until the church came through and started doing all their crap, you know.
Hurling accusations.
And there's a lot of danger from hurling accusations at people. They, you know, mud sticks.
Definitely.
And even if it's, even if you weren't in the mud pool, if somebody throws mud at you, it takes a long time to get that stuff off.
Right.
And I mean, that was going off topic a little bit, but
yes and no.
And yeah, I don't know if witchcraft itself, because there's many different forms of witchcraft, deal with portals. They may. I don't know. Might have to have a word with our friendly witch that we interviewed earlier in the season and see if she knows of any portal type magic. It could indeed be a thing. I don't know. And yeah, TV shows, you know. We come back to TV shows yet again.
But then you've got the saying though as well, a little bit off of what you're saying, is portals can be as simple as your eyes.
Yeah.
You know, they've always said it's a portal to your soul. And
Exactly.
you can tell a lot by looking through people's eyes.
Exactly.
And, you know, you can kind of have a good hunch on what the person's going to be like, as I found out recently myself.
Yeah.
But
anyway, we're out of time. So I think we should say goodbye. Yeah. These half-an-hour shows go past so quick.
they do.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Oh, look, you're welcome on. We might have you on again very, very soon, as in possibly the next show. We'll see.
See what
So,
happens.
all right, take it easy, guys.
Will
See ya.
do. Bye.